Okay, the first thing we're going to look at is your vocabulario. So if you get that out, I want you to get to this page with these like emojis on it. I think it is página 6. Um, so go to that page, and I'm just going to give you this vocab really quickly. So going across in order like this, it is this. Now, you might not look at the picture and be really clear about what it is. So if the picture is not clear, always write the English word in addition to the Spanish word, please. The first one is tired. It's cansado. Sick, enfermo. Sad is triste. Busy is next down here. Ocupado. Of course, that's a cognate for occupied. Happy, contento. That's cognate for, you got it, content. Bad or badly. So we learned, actually we learned both of these. Bad is going to be the adjective. So that's going to be malo. And then the adverb, which is badly, is going to be mal. So remember when we learned ¿Cómo estás? How are you? You could have answered mal for badly. But if you're describing a person as a bad person, you would use the adjective malo. Okay, excited is next, down here, and that one is emocionado, like emotional. Depressed, deprimido, and angry is enojado. Now, remember that all of these are adjectives, so if you have an adjective that ends in an O naturally, you would change it to an A if you're talking about a girl or a feminine item like a table. Of course, you probably wouldn't describe a table as tired, but anyway, anything you're describing, if it's feminine, you're going to add an A. So, for example, you would say he is tired, él es cansado. There should be an accent over this. Or she is tired, ella es cansada. And actually, I should be using está, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Oh, I changed the English. Okay, so this one ends in an A because we're talking about a girl. This one ends in an O because we're talking about a boy. Now, notice this one here does not end in an O naturally. It ends in an E, so that again is called a gender neutral adjective. So it doesn't matter if it's a boy or a girl, it would still be triste. Okay? All right. Now, look up above all those pictures to this verb estar. Estar is what you're going to type in there. Estar is to be. This is review, by the way. You've had this verb a couple of times. You had it with your, that, I want to say it was púrpura, where you learn to say where things are, like la puerta está debajo del reloj. And then you also had it in your, maybe your vocabulario verde. But anyway, we're going to review it again. So the yo form is irregular. It doesn't follow the normal rule. So the yo form is estoy. Then it goes normal. Estás, está, estamos, and están. So fill that chart out with this information here. Remember your accents on these three. And also please remember the accents are there because we needed to change the natural stress on this word. Since it ended naturally, since it ends in an N, A, or S, N or S or a vowel really. The stress should fall on the first E, but they don't want it to, so they had to change the placement of the stress by putting it an accent. Okay, so this means to be. Now, remember when we use the verb estar, we use it for how we feel and where we are. So you've learned how to say where you are or where things are. The door is under the clock. But now you're going to learn some emotions, so you'll be able to say how you feel also. So that's why we needed to review this verb, because you're going to use it with all of these adjectives. So if I wanted to say I am angry, that's how I feel. So I'm going to use the verb estar in the yo form in this case. Estoy enojada, since I'm a girl. But if I wanted to say I am funny, that's not how I feel. That's describing me. So that would be the other word for I am. Okay? So this is the verb that we use for how you feel. And so you're going to conjugate it in one of these 5 ways. Now, that is it for that. Make sure you rewind if you need more help on those things. Now, I want you to go to, I think it's the second to last page. Your vocabulario is not exactly in the same order as this one I'm showing you. So what you want to do is just flip to the end, either last page or second to last, and it should say boot verbs, stem changers. It looks like this. Okay, so get to that place. Now, remember that when you have a verb like hablar, there are 2 parts to a verb. There's the stem. Well, you can't even see that underlined part, but anyway, there's the stem, and then there's the ending, okay? Stem and ending. So whenever you want to change who's doing the action, and so instead of just to speak, you want it to say I speak, you take off the ending, just leave the stem, and then you're going to add your new ending for either I, you, he, she, we, they, or whatever. So if it's I, then it's going to be an O ending. Hablo, and now it's I speak, or I talk. Okay, so that is review, and hopefully you're very confident with that. Now we're going to throw a wrench into things, because sometimes this stem also changes. That's called a stem changer, of course. So let me show you what I mean. First, let's fill this in, I guess. So there are 3 types, 3 goes here, 3 types of boot verbs. Boot verbs is another word for a stem changer, and I'll tell you why in a minute. So 3 goes here. They are. So here are all the ways that they stem change, that they're stem changers. Okay, so the first is going to be E to IE. Notice instead of this 2, I put like this little arrow. So E to IE. The next one is O to UE, and the next one is E to I. So you're filling this information in right here. E to IE, O to UE, E to I. Though there is also one special boot verb that follows its own pattern. That's what goes here. That's going to be U to UE. And that special verb is jugar. And you know this verb, jugar. It means, right here, it means to play. You know that one. Okay. So now it says some boot verbs are also, this is what you put in this blank here, are also called go verbs. And that means that the yo form in this box here, yo form is different and ends in go. So now I'm going to explain. So hopefully I have these notes filled out up here. So let's skip this jugar verb real quick, and we're going to go to querer. Querer. Querer means, I wish I could write on that, I can't. Okay. So querer means to want. Okay, so write that in right here, to want. Because this is vocab too. You need to know what these words mean, these verbs. So querer is to want. So notice that your ending is like all your other verbs. These are either going to end in AR, ER, or IR. This one in particular ends in ER. So this is called a stem changing verb or a boot verb. And next to where it says to want, or actually, why don't you write it over here on the left side? I want you to write that this is an E to IE verb. So E to IE, write that right here. Okay, and now I'm going to show you what that means. So normally, you would take your verb, querer, you would take off the ending, if you're going to conjugate it, right? You would take off the ending, ER, leaving just your stem, and then you would add your new endings. So I would do this. Now, I'm going to change this so that it's not giving you all those red lines. Oh. Sorry, give me just a second here. Okay, so there we go. Okay, so there's your stem. And normally we would just go through, what happened? Oh, I haven't written it out. And I would add an O, an S, because it's an ER verb, right? And an A, and so on, right? Okay. So that's how we conjugate verbs normally. Now, because this is a stem changing verb, that means that before you can even add the endings that you know, you have to make a change in the stem, this spelling change. So we said over here that this is an E to IE verb. So that means in the stem that I have written here, the E is going to change to IE instead of just an E. So I'm going to go in and instead of just having an E, I'm going to have an IE. Now here's another wrench I'm throwing in it. This change does not happen in the nosotros form. So I'll tell you more about that in a minute. So, excuse me. So now we've made the stem change, E to IE in this case for this verb. And then all you want to do is go back through and add your endings like you have always done. O-S-E, hemos, and N. And now you have a correctly conjugated verb for querer. So querer means to want. But now quiero is how I'm going to say that, is I want. Quieres, you want. Quiere, he, she, it wants. Queremos is we want. And quieren is they or y'all want. So all I did was my normal conjugation, everything normal. I added the ER endings, O, S, E, hemos, N. But because this is a stem changer, I've had to make a spelling change in the stem. And in this case, it would be to IE. Now, you won't know, you can't know or predict how something stem changes, if it's E to IE or E to I or whatever. I have to tell you that. And then you just have to remember it. So that's a bummer. But in Spanish 1 right now, I'll always tell you how it stem changes, so you won't have to remember. Now, remember how I said it doesn't change in the nosotros form, right? So that is why it's called a boot verb. That's why the other word for stem changer is boot verb. Because if you'll notice, it changes, let's see if I can make this happen. Yep. All right. It changes here, it changes here, it changes here. And that is like the shape of a boot verb. I'm sorry, that's the shape of a boot. Okay, it goes like this, like this. If you were to draw a line around it, it'd be in the shape of a boot. Because this one is left out. It doesn't stem change. This is still E and not IE. That's why they call them boot verb. So whenever you hear boot verb or stem changer, you know it's the same thing. Okay, so let's go down and do this next verb. The next verb is poder. And poder means to be able. In other words, can. To be able, can. All right, now over on the left side, I want you to write how this verb stem changes. This is, if you look at it, if you look at the stem, P-O-D is the stem, do you think this would change from E to I-E, E to I, or O to U-E? Well, it can only be O to U-E because there isn't an E to change in the stem. So that's one way you can know how it stem changes sometimes. So since this one ends in or has an O in it, we know it's going to stem change. You're going to write this here from O to UE. So that means if I'm going to conjugate my verb, what I like to do is right away just put my normal stem for all of these. And then, so that's what's going in these blanks. This page is a little split up. Hopefully you're formatted a little bit better. So I'm going to do my normal stem. Then I'm going to go back in and make the change here, the spelling change. So I'm going to change this O to UE. So here's my first O. I'm going to erase it and write UE. Oop, UE. Change the O to UE. Change the O to UE. Remember, it doesn't change in the nosotros form. That's why it's called the boot verb. And then all I need to do is add my ER ending. Notice this is an ER verb, right? Oops, let's highlight this a little bit better. Okay, so this is an ER verb. So this is what you learned in your green packet, verde. You're adding your endings for ER verbs. So O, S, F, hemos, and N. So now I've changed it from to be able to I am able, or I can, you can, he can, we can, and they can. All right? All right, the next verb is pedir, right here, pedir. And pedir means to ask for. Now, it's not just to ask, it's to ask for. So make sure you have the word for here, okay? I'm sorry, make sure you recognize that you need to add another word for for. It's already in this verb, to ask for. So the way its stem changes, what you're going to write over here, if you look at it, you can tell, if I cover up the ending, that there's an E in it. There's not an O. So you know it can't be O to UE. It's either E to IE or E to I. And since we haven't done it yet, I'm going to make this, I'm going to get this, over here you're going to write in how it stem changes. So this one stem changes from E to I. So write that right here, E to I. Now, that means you're going to take your verb, put your normal endings. It would normally be, I'm sorry, not your ending, your stem. Your stem would normally be ped, right? Because you took off your IR ending and left the stem here. So that's the ending, and here's your stem. So I wrote ped, 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 ped. But I noticed that the E needs to change to an I. So I'm going to do that. E to I, E to I, E to I, E to I. And then it doesn't change in the nosotros form. Then all I need to do is add my IR endings. So IR endings, O, S, E, this one's different, imos, and N. So now instead of to ask for, I have I ask for, you ask for, he asks for, we ask for, they ask for, or y'all. Okay. Now, that's how stem changers work. Now I have a couple other things to show you. If you go up to the top, here, we're going to go back to this verb jugar. Jugar is the one in the notes here that we said is special because it follows its own pattern. The U changes to UE. It doesn't happen in any other verb, just jugar. So if we were to conjugate jugar, it means to play, you know that. And if I were to conjugate this, normally I would make my stem, put my stem first, J-U-G, and then I would go in and add my endings. But I know that this one, and you should write this over to the side here, this one changes from U to UE. So instead of just U, I need to change this to UE. UE, 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 and nosotros doesn't change. Now I can go in and add my AR verb endings. O, us, I don't know what happened here. I don't know. Okay. Then vamos, and on. So now, instead of to play, we have I play, you play, he play, we play, they play. And instead of jugo, normally this would be jugo, right? J-U-G-O. But you know that jugo means juice. So this one, because its stem changes, is actually juego, juego, juegas, juega, jugamos, and juegan. Okay, so now I gotta figure out what's going on over here. I lost my packet. Hold on a second, sorry. I don't know what happened here, sorry. Okay, sorry, I gotta look for that packet again, so I can show you a couple other things. Okay, here it is. Okay, so we have these first four: jugar, querer, poder, and pedir. Now, if you notice at the top of that section, I also told you that there is this special thing with the star. Some boot verbs are also go verbs. That means that the yo form is different and ends in go. So let's look at this verb, which you've learned a little bit of before, tener. Tener. Now, now that I'm thinking about it, this part here might be on a different page. So if you don't see tener at the bottom of all these charts, look for it maybe on Página 3. I just can't remember where it is on your packet. So go ahead and find that. So now, this verb is different than the rest because you know that tener, first of all, means to have. I remember that. you've learned tengo and tienes. Remember, tengo la clase de matemáticas en la quinta hora. Okay, so it means to have. Over here, I'm going to tell you it stem changes from E to IE, and it also is this new thing called a go verb. So write that over here too. E to IE, go verb. So according to our notes up here, that means that the yo form is different and ends in go. So let's look at what that looks like. So you already know this verb, but now you're going to see kind of why it is that way. So remember that 10 is your stem if you're going to normally conjugate this verb. Okay? Because ER is your ending. So we're going to put what would normally be our stem down, 10. Now, according to this information, it's an E to IE verb, which means that the E is going to change to IE in these 4 forms, right? Not the nosotros. But since it's also a go verb, that means that the yo form is different than all the rest and ends in go. So this ending is just go. It doesn't change to IE, it doesn't do anything else, it just ends in go. And you remember doing that, tango. Tango la clase de matemáticas. And then for the rest of these, you're going to do the stem change. So E, instead of just E, it's going to be IE. IE and IE. Then you'll go back in and add your normal ER endings. S, E, hemos, and N. Okay? So notice your normal endings are here, S, E, hemos, N. But since it's a go verb, the yo form is totally different. There's no way for you to even know how to do that. Again, it's just something you have to remember. I'll give you a couple other examples of go verbs. You don't have to write them down, but just so you can see. There is poner. Oops. Oh, what did I do? Okay. Don't say that. All right. There is poner, and it means to put, place, or set. And it is a go verb, but it's not a stem changer. It doesn't change O to UE or anything else. It's just a go verb. So all that tells you, if it's a go verb, all you know is the yo form's different and it ends in O. So let's put our normal stem, what it would normally be, all the way through. It's not a stem changing verb, so that means all these other forms are going to be normal ER endings. So S, E, hemos, and N, and since it's not a stem changing verb, I didn't have to change the O or anything else. So this is conjugated like every other verb you've learned to do. But since it's a go verb, the yo form is going to be different, and you have to just wait for me to tell you what it's going to be. Now, it's not always going to be as easy as just adding go, but in these 2 cases it is. Let me think of an example of, I can't think of an example of when it's not just adding go, but there are examples of it. Now, one more thing, look up here and notice this verb jugar. But it's not a go verb. And the reason is that it should end in go. There's a G in the stem. So this isn't unusual. It's different than all the rest. It should end in go. But these 2 are go verbs because there's no G in the stem. Where did the G come from? It just comes out of nowhere, out of thin air. So that's a go verb. For no reason, it ends in go. But up here, there is a reason. It has a G. It should have a G. It should end in go. So hopefully that that makes sense to you. So now what I want you to do to practice this is we're going to do some studyspanish.com. So up here in Study Spanish, you know, like always, you're going to go to grammar. This lesson happens to be in lesson 3, unit 3. And then there are 3 that I want you to do today. I want you to do the one for O to UE, E to IE, and E to I. So you're going to do all of those. Click on them, read through the lesson quickly. It's never very long. And then go back and do the basic quiz for each of those. Okay? Now, you'll notice that it'll ask you the vosotros and vosotras, which we've never learned, but you can figure that out from reading the lesson. But also, if you click on it, notice that these go in order. Yo, tú, he, she, we. There's where the vosotros would go. So just pick that one. So that shouldn't be a problem for you. So you're going to do, again, you're going to do all of these. I can't get rid of that for some reason. Okay, you're going to do 28, 29, and 30. All 3 of those. Okay, I want you to get 100% on all 3 of those. This is not a hard quiz. These aren't hard quizzes, even though the concept here might be a little bit hard, but you can go back through and listen to this video and hopefully make sense of it and read through the lessons here. So I want you to get 100% on all 3 of these lessons. Screenshot them for me and then add them all in one email. Please don't send me 3 different emails with the screenshots because then I'll have way too many emails to go through and I'll probably lose something. So when you've got all 3 done at 100% and screenshotted them, then you will attach them all to one email and send it to me. Remember that to screenshot, it's Windows on the bottom left plus F11 on the top. If that doesn't work, it's Windows plus F11, plus FN on the bottom next to the Windows button. FN, I think it's like in blue or something. And then F11. Okay? And then you'll know it works when your screen flashes. So try this one first. If the screen flashes, and you got it. If not, try this one. And then attach them. Also, please make sure, not everybody's doing this when you send me Study Spanish. Please make sure that you screenshot the whole screen so I can see what lesson you did. If you are using like a snippet tool or something, sometimes you don't get enough of it and I can't see that you did the right lesson. So I can't give you credit for it. So make sure you have, it needs to include the name of the lesson, then changing verbs quiz, for example, OUE. Okay? All right, feel free to listen to this as many times as you need. The second assignment that you're going to do for next class is Quizlet 4B. Actually, you can't do that because there's vocab you haven't learned yet. So let's just do these 3 lessons today, and they're due by the start of next class. You should be able to get them done in this class, though, so use your time well. Thank you.